Hi, how are you? I hope everybody's doing well. Let's talk about scripture. The scripture reasons have been taken from the book of wisdom, from the first letter to the Thessalonians, and from the Gospel of Matthew. And in them, we're invited to include God in our plans, in our life, and then to trust in Him. Years ago, I was traveling to South America and I was going to stay there for a month, but I didn't know how the place was going to be and the facilities. So I decided to prepare. And for me, preparing was I took the biggest luggage I could have, piece of luggage, and I packed it with clothes. I was prepared, in my own opinion, right? When I got there, I met a woman who arrived with a small suitcase. She wanted to travel light and be more mobile, so she brought few clothes. We both, in our efforts and in our planning, we're trying to be practical for our trip, but we had very different approach to the same situation. We have two very different methodologies, two very different points of departure to address the same concern. Who was right and who was wrong? We were both okay. Our strategies work well for both of us. While she found where to wash her clothes, I was relieved from worrying about how often I would have to wash mine. So it depends, right? In the Gospel of Matthew, we have the story of the 10 virgins with the oil lamps waiting for the bridegroom, okay? And we divide them between 5 that were wise and 5 that were foolish. And in my opinion, I believe that they were a bit harsh with all those other 5, that they called them foolish. Because if the circumstances were as planned, if that wedding would have gone according to plans, they had enough oil in their lamps, right? They were ready. The problem was that the plans changed, that the bridegroom was delayed. And then, only then, was when those 5 young women got in trouble, okay? They became foolish because they didn't have alternative solutions for the moment. So the wise ones had extra oil. They were able to respond to the change of plans. That's why they were called wise. Today, if we see somebody like me with a big suitcase full of clothes for a trip, I might be called exaggerated. But you should see my family meetings. When we meet, they bring the big pot. And we are only like 15 in our family. So, it runs. But, sometimes it pays off being a bit over the board, right? God wants us to be prepared for everything. For everything. Because we know by experience already that not always things go according to plans. Not always things go according to our expectations, right? And we need to be able to adapt. We need to be able to be flexible, right? To adjust. So sometimes it's difficult because as we grow up, we become a bit older. We also tend to be a bit more hard-headed, stubborn, fixed in our ways, and inflexible, right? We already have formed our opinions, our methodology of life, and we become a bit more resistant to change in our lives. And together with that, we resist new solutions to problems, new ideas, new starting points, new things. And in doing this, we neglect ourselves. We become foolish, like those 5 young women. It doesn't mean that we are completely foolish. It just means that we don't expect certain things in life, that if we don't open ourselves and become more flexible, we're going to be surprised. And we're not going to be ready. So we are invited in this gospel to depart from a thirst, a deep thirst for God. And we are invited in these scripture readings to let ourselves be taken by the hand by God at every moment, every decision, every circumstance, and every planning. When we are here in our heads thinking about ways to resolve issues, ways to move ahead in certain circumstances in life. And to that, the first reading called it prudence. That's what is prudence. In the book of wisdom, it says, for taking thought of wisdom is the perfection of prudence. I love it. For taking thought of wisdom is the perfection of prudence. And I won't lie to you, when we take God into account, we might spend a bit more time deciding. Of course, because we are in a relationship, we are consulting somebody else, right? And it might take a couple of hours of sleep here and there. But anyway, we are worried, right? We are in decision-making mode, in discernment. But when we do it this way, and when we finally take the decision, decide which way to go, then we are free. And we are invited to be free. How? By then trusting God, that God from then on is in charge. We did everything that we needed to do then. We took him by the hand and asked him to be with us in that moment of discernment and decision making. And then in the moment of action, we trust that he's engaged, that he's collaborating in our life. That is wisdom. Because it is from that thirst from God and that relationship with God that we can finally gain peace in our lives. And it's in constantly being in that connection with God that we will always be ready for anything, even for our death, whenever it want to come, right? Because we had achieved at that moment the most important thing. We have connected with God. That's our goal in life. We are not gonna fulfill all our desires in life. We need to admit that. We're not gonna meet all our goals. We're not gonna visit all the places that we ever wanna visit or travel. We're not gonna do everything that we wanted to in the future, or see things that we wanted to see in the future. That's a given. But we will do a lot more at peace and freely when we take God by the hand. So, our invitation is that with God by the hand, we plan. And in that, we're going to be prudent. But then we're invited to be flexible and to trust God. Then we become wise. May God bless you all. May God make you really prudent and wise children of God. And let us be saints.